Hey, old man, did you get lost looking for the game hall? The question cut through the hot old air inside the supply tent. A young officer named Jake stood with his arms crossed. He looked perfect in his uniform. His muscles showed through his shirt. He had many medals on his chest. He thought he was better than everyone else. But the old man he was talking to did not say anything back. The old man's name was Robert. He stood by the counter. He wore a bright blue shirt tucked into tan pants. He held an old baseball cap in his hands. He was 82 years old. His skin had lots of wrinkles. His eyes were light blue behind thick glasses. "Is this a joke?" Jake asked. He looked at his friends. They all laughed. They were Navy SEALs. They just came back from fighting overseas. They felt strong and bored. Seeing a weak old man in this place felt wrong to them. "I asked you a question, sir," Jake said. He walked closer. "Do you even know where you are? Old people are not allowed here. Did you get lost from a tour?" Robert finally moved. His old bones made clicking sounds. He looked up at Jake. His face showed no fear. He looked very patient and calm. "I am waiting for the supply man," Robert said. His voice was soft and scratchy, but everyone could hear it. Jake laughed. "The supply man is busy helping real soldiers, not giving out toys. Look, old man, the museum is 3 miles that way. They have a gift shop. Maybe you can buy a coin there." Robert turned back to the counter. He put a small folded paper on the metal top. He waited for the young worker who went to get something. Jake got angry that Robert ignored him. He was an officer. He was a warrior. He kicked down doors in many countries. Being ignored by an old man in a blue shirt made him mad. He stepped right up to the counter. He blocked Robert's view. "You know, I'm trying to help you before the police come and take you away," Jake said. "We do important work here. Dangerous work. We don't have time to babysit. What war were you in anyway? The really old one?" The other SEALs laughed louder this time. The joke was funny to them. Robert stayed still. His eyes looked at a patch on Jake's shoulder. It had a skull on it. Robert looked at it for a second, then looked away. "I was in the war that lets you stand here and talk like that," Robert said quietly. The laughing stopped right away. It wasn't a yell. It wasn't mean. It was just a fact, like saying water is wet. Jake's smile went away. His jaw got tight. He stood up tall, much taller than Robert. "Watch your mouth, old man," Jake said in a low voice. "You might have cooked food in Korea or pushed papers in Vietnam, but you're talking to a United States Navy SEAL. You show respect to the uniform." "I respect the uniform," Robert said. His eyes looked right into Jake's eyes. "I just wonder if the man inside it is good enough." The air got very cold. Everyone around them stopped working. The base got quiet. Jake's face turned red. This was a challenge. Jake did not back down from challenges. He reached out his hand near Robert's shoulder. He wanted to push the old man out the door. "Let me see your ID," Jake said. "Now, or I'm putting you on the ground and calling security." Robert didn't move away from the hand. He reached into his shirt pocket. He moved very slowly. He pulled out a small leather wallet. It was very old and worn. He opened it and put a card on the counter. Jake grabbed the card. He thought it would be a driver's license. He looked at it and got confused. It wasn't a normal ID card. It was old and yellow. It looked like someone typed it on an old typewriter. There was no computer strip on it, just a name, a number, and a rank. "What is this?" Jake said. "This looks like an old library card. This is expired. This is not real ID." "It has no end date," Robert said. Jake threw the card back on the counter. "It's trash. You're not supposed to be here, that's it. I've had enough." Jake reached for his radio to call security. Just then, the back door of the tent opened. A young worker ran out holding a small heavy box wrapped in paper. He looked worried and sweaty. "Sorry for the wait. The computer was acting up when I typed in the..." The worker stopped. He saw Jake standing over the old man. He saw everyone looking tense. He looked at the card on the counter, then at Robert, then at Jake's angry face. "Lieutenant Jake, sir," the worker said in a shaky voice. Jake didn't look away from Robert. "Not now. Call security. We have someone who broke in." "No, sir," the worker said. His voice was scared but loud. "You don't understand. I put the service number into the computer." "I don't care what you did," Jake said. "Get him out of here." "Sir, the computer locked down," the worker said. He stepped between Jake and Robert. When I typed this man's service number, the screen turned red. It showed a code Z4. Jake stopped. Code Z4? That sounds like a mistake. It's not a mistake, sir. It's a special flag. The screen said to stay here and that the base commander was being told right away. Jake looked at the worker, then down at Robert. The old man hadn't moved. He was just looking at the box in the worker's hands with a soft look. Half a mile away, Admiral Davis was looking at papers when a red light on his computer started blinking. It was a silent alarm. It hadn't gone off in his 5 years of being in charge here. He touched the screen. A very old black and white photo appeared next to a new scan. The name showed in big letters. Robert James Thompson. Admiral Davis froze. He stopped breathing for 3 seconds. He looked at the location. Supply Tent 4. Admiral, his helper asked from the door. He saw all the color leave the Admiral's face. Get the car, Davis said. He stood up so fast his chair fell over. Get everyone now. Sir, what's happening? Davis was already grabbing his hat. We have a Trident 1 here. Do you hear me? A founder. And he's stuck in the supply tent. The helper's eyes got really big. He grabbed his radio. Davis didn't wait. He ran out of the office. His mind was racing. Robert Thompson. The name was like a ghost story in the teams. A man who wasn't supposed to exist. A man whose missions were still secret. A man whose work created the very unit that Jake now worked in. Davis knew how young guys acted. He knew they were cocky because he used to be cocky too. And he knew that if Robert Thompson was standing in a supply tent without help, someone was probably being mean to him right now. Back in the tent, Jake felt his power slipping away. A nervous worker and a silent old man were making him look weak. He needed to take control back. Look, I don't know what game you're playing, Jake said. He grabbed Robert's arm. The grip was tight. But you're leaving now. Robert looked down at the hand grabbing his arm. For a second, the world seemed to change. In Robert's mind, the tent disappeared. He wasn't looking at a young officer. He was looking at a jungle at night. He felt the weight of his wounded friend on his shoulder. He remembered being the only thing standing between his team and death. Robert didn't pull away. He didn't hit. He just stood firm. When Jake tried to pull him, Robert didn't move. It was like trying to pull a stone statue. Jake pulled harder. He was confused why the old man wouldn't move. I would ask you to let go of my arm, son, Robert said. His voice was cold like steel. Or what? Jake said. He got close to Robert's face. You going to hit me with your cane? Jake raised his other hand to grab Robert's shoulder. He was going to force him toward the door. Suddenly, the big doors of the supply tent crashed open. The noise shook the walls. Attention! A voice shouted so loud it made everyone freeze. It wasn't just a police officer. It was the base sergeant major, followed by Admiral Davis and many shore patrol officers. Jake froze. His hands were still holding Robert. He looked over his shoulder. His eyes got big when he saw the stars on the Admiral's uniform. The whole room stood at attention. Everyone except Jake, who was caught grabbing an old man, and Robert, who stood calmly. Unhand that man right now, Admiral Davis shouted. His voice was so angry it made the boxes shake. Jake let go of Robert like he was on fire. He spun around and saluted fast. His face lost all color. Admiral, sir, this civilian was breaking in and wouldn't show ID. Be quiet, Davis shouted. He walked fast and angry. The Admiral didn't stop at Jake. He walked right past him and stopped in front of Robert. The room was totally silent. Admiral Davis slowly came to attention. He looked Robert in the eye. His face changed from angry to very respectful. He raised his hand in a slow, perfect salute. It wasn't a normal salute. It was a salute for a legend. Master Chief, Davis said. His voice was thick with feeling. I'm sorry for the wait and for... Robert looked at Davis for a moment. Then a small smile came to his face. He saluted back. His hand moved through the air with speed that didn't match his 82 years. It was perfect. At ease, Admiral, Robert said. Jake stood frozen. His hand was half raised. His mind couldn't understand what he was seeing. Master Chief? This man was wearing a blue shirt. He looked like a grandpa. Davis turned slowly to face Jake. The look on the Admiral's face was scary. Lieutenant Jake, Davis said in a low, dangerous voice, do you know who this is? Jake couldn't talk right. No, sir. He had an expired ID. He wouldn't say where he served. Davis stepped closer to Jake, getting right in his face just like Jake had done to Robert. This is Master Chief Robert Thompson. He didn't tell you where he served because the places he served didn't have names on maps when he was there. He didn't tell you which war because he's been fighting a war since before your father was born. Davis pointed around the room to everyone. You asked him about the Civil War, Davis said. His voice was full of anger. Master Chief Thompson was one of the original frogmen. He was swimming into enemy harbors in North Vietnam with only a knife and shorts while the rest of the Navy was still learning how to fight. He created the training course that you just finished. The moves you use? He wrote the book. The breathing tank you train with? He tested the first one. Jake felt his stomach drop. He looked at Robert, really looked at him this time. He saw the scars on his arms now. Not wrinkles. Scars from battles. Davis kept going. Master Chief Thompson won the Navy Cross, 2 silver stars and 4 Purple Hearts. He is the only person still alive from Operation Thunderhead. He is here today because I invited him to pick up a replacement for something he lost, saving 3 men's lives 40 years ago. The supply worker stepped forward carefully and put the paper wrap box on the counter. Your watch, Master Chief, the worker whispered. Robert reached out and took the box. He unwrapped it slowly. Inside was an old dive watch. It was scratched and beat up, but it was cleaned and fixed. It wasn't a cheap toy. It was a tool, a piece of history that had seen the ocean depths in battle. Thank you, son, Robert said to the worker. Davis turned back to Jake. You asked him for ID. You tried to push him out. Lieutenant, you are not good enough to clean this man's boots. You stand there with your pin thinking it makes you a god. This man created that pin in fire. Jake was shaking. The shame felt like a heavy weight crushing him. He wanted to disappear. Not knowing is not an excuse for being mean, Davis said. You saw an old man, and you saw a target for your ego. You forgot the first rule of this brotherhood. Be humble. Davis took a deep breath. Lieutenant, you are off duty right now. You will come to my office at 8 a.m. tomorrow for punishment. Then get out of my sight. Jake opened his mouth to speak, but the look in Davis's eyes stopped him. Yes, sir. Jake turned to leave, but Robert's voice stopped him. Lieutenant. Jake stopped. He turned around slowly. He couldn't look Robert in the eye. Robert stepped forward. He didn't look angry. He didn't look happy. He looked sad but firm. The uniform fits, Robert said softly. The training is there. The skill is there. I can see it. But the man inside needs work. Robert pointed to the blue shirt he was wearing. You laughed at the shirt, Robert said. You asked which war. Robert stopped. His hand rested on the counter near the watch. The wars you read about in books are loud, Robert said. The History Channel wars. But the wars that keep you safe at night, the ones we fought in the dark, they are silent. We don't wear uniforms in those wars. We wear whatever we have to. We wear blue shirts. We wear normal clothes. We wear shadows. Robert looked Jake right in the eye. Never think silence means weakness, Lieutenant, and never judge a warrior by how shiny his armor is. Some of the most dangerous things in the world look like nothing at all until it's too late. Jake nodded quickly. Yes, Master Chief. I'm sorry. Robert nodded once. Keep your head down, son, and check your ego at the door. It'll get you killed faster than a bullet. Jake turned and walked out of the supply tent. All his cockiness was gone. The silence was heavy. The crowd of soldiers and sailors stayed still. They looked at Robert with wide eyes, seeing him for the first time. They didn't see an old man in a blue shirt anymore. They saw a giant. Admiral Davis turned to Robert. His face got softer. Master Chief, my car is outside. I would be honored if you eat lunch with me at the mess hall. The new guys could learn a lot just by seeing you. Robert smiled. He put the dive watch in his pocket. It was the watch he wore when his team was attacked in the Mekong Delta. He used the glass to signal the rescue helicopter after his radio was shot. He lost it during the escape, and it took the Navy 40 years to find it in the mud and return it to him. I'd like that, Admiral, Robert said, but no speeches. I just came for my watch. Davis laughed, a real warm laugh. No speeches, Robert, I promise. Just good food and bad coffee. As they walked out of the supply tent, All the uniformed people moved aside. Without anyone telling them to, they stood at attention. It spread through the room. Army, Navy, Marines, everyone standing tall. As Robert passed, he didn't look at the ground. He looked at them. He met their eyes. He nodded. He walked with a small limp, a reminder of falling from a helicopter in 1968, but his back was straight. The blue shirt stood out against the green tent as he walked out into the sunlight. Outside, the air was fresh. The shame of the fight was gone. It was replaced by a sense that things were right again. Justice had been fast, but more importantly, a lesson had been taught. In the days that followed, the story of the old man in the blue shirt spread across the base like wildfire. It became a story told in the sleeping areas. The young SEALs stopped making fun of the old soldiers who came to the base store. They started looking at them differently. They started looking for the quiet strength behind the glasses and canes. Lieutenant Jake was moved to a training group. He lost his team leadership until he finished a special leadership class. He spent 6 months cleaning decks and teaching basic map reading to new guys. It was the best thing that ever happened to him. He learned that leadership wasn't about being the loudest person in the room. It was about being the steadiest. A few months later, Jake was at the base store. He saw Robert again. Robert was in the coffee aisle, looking at different brands. He was wearing the same blue shirt. Jake froze. He thought about turning around and walking away, but he didn't. He took a deep breath, fixed his uniform, and walked down the aisle. "Master Chief," Jake said. Robert turned. He looked at Jake over his glasses. He knew who he was right away. "Lieutenant," Robert said calmly. Jake stood with his hands behind his back. No cockiness this time, just respect. "I just wanted to say thank you," Jake said. Robert raised an eyebrow. "Thank you for the lesson," Jake said. "I needed it." Robert smiled. It was a real smile this time. "We all need to be corrected now and then, son. Even me." Robert picked up a can of coffee. "You still going overseas soon?" Robert asked. "Yes, Master Chief. Next month." Robert nodded. "Keep your ammo dry and watch out for the quiet ones." "I will," Jake said. Robert patted Jake on the shoulder, a firm, fatherly pat, and walked toward the checkout. Jake watched him go. He watched the blue shirt disappear into the crowd. He realized then that the blue shirt wasn't a sign of a regular person. It was the color of the ocean. It was the color of the deep water where monsters and heroes swim together in the dark. And it was a color he would never disrespect again. Robert paid for his coffee and walked out to his old pickup truck in the parking lot. He sat in the driver's seat for a moment, looking at the dive watch on his wrist. The second hand moved smoothly around the dial. Tick, tick. He thought about the boys he had lost. He thought about the wars he had fought. And he thought about the young lieutenant inside who was just starting his journey. He started the engine. The truck rumbled to life. He wasn't a hero in his own mind. He was just a man who had done a job, a man who had survived. But as he drove off the base, past the young guards who saluted the sticker on his window, he knew that the story would live on. Not for his glory, but to guide them. And that was enough.